Okay, so we're running a special little event, let's say, on this channel while I'm on vacation. And this little event I'm calling Sweeps Week, based on the network television concept of doing pilots for new shows and seeing what sticks. And based upon the Netrunner card, which I have borrowed the art of here as a starting place in my little slideshow. If you haven't played Netrunner and you play card games, you should definitely play Android Netrunner. It's fucking awesome. Anyway, the concept here is going to be that I'm going to put out 7 pilots over the following few days. The exact schedule you can find in the comments. I'm not putting the exact schedule in my little slideshow video here because I haven't made it yet, because it kind of depends on what else I can get pre-recorded before I head out on vacation. So schedule TBD, but by the time you see this, it'll be decided. So yes, 7 pilots are being recorded for the channel, 7 different series. And you guys get to vote on which one you want to see as a full series. So the way you vote is by leaving likes on the video. So whichever one of the 7 pilots has the most likes at the end of the timer, however long they may be, check the comments, because I also don't know how long that's going to be. We'll make it to a full series, and we'll do a full run however long that takes. This also serves an additional purpose in that it lets me gauge interest in some of these different games I'd like to play on the channel, and I get an idea of which things I should focus on. We'll do some of these other pilots as series if they get enough likes later on. So you can kind of think of it as a bit of a ranked vote in a way. If something is popular, we'll certainly get around to it. So yes. A couple of these pilots are broken into 2-parters, particularly the roguelikes, because they're longer runs, and I didn't want to leave a run half finished before we did an episode. So if it is a 2-parter, the likes on the first part are the only likes I'm going to count for the purpose of what wins the vote. So, regarding the 7 series, we'll go through them one by one, and I'll describe what goes into each series and what we're looking at. So, first series, Long War of the Chosen, XCOM 2. So, the Long War mod has a bit of a history behind it. It started in XCOM 1, Enemy Unknown, Enemy Within. I always forget which one is the release and which one's the expansion. But then there was a Long War version for XCOM 2 as well. And then it has a separate group has adapted that Long War mod into Long War of the Chosen to work with War of the Chosen, the actual expansion for XCOM 2. So we're going to do a mod pack that is primarily just Long War of the Chosen, but also has a few cosmetics mods added as well. It will do a full playthrough of the game with Long War. What else? I've played Long War for XCOM 1, but I've never played it for XCOM 2. So this should be a really interesting experience for me. I have beaten XCOM 2. I don't think I ever beat War of the Chosen base game, but I came close. I just got distracted by other things. I'm fairly familiar with XCOM. This should be a pretty fun series if it makes the cut. Next, we're looking at, let's get the mouse off the screen. I'm a professional. I'm really not. Next, we're looking at Alien vs. Predator Extinction. This is a PlayStation 2 RTS, which objectively, a console RTS on PlayStation 2 is pretty shit. And I'm gonna be honest, game's a little rough around the edges. However, it is fucking unique in that it is an Alien vs. Predator RTS, and that's cool. So this is the first of kind of 2 retro gaming centric pilot options. So what we're going to be doing for this and for the other retro game is they're just kind of standard playthroughs. We'll see all the levels of the game, and that'll be the end of the series. So it'll be a little bit of a shorter series, but then that means we move on to other content sooner. I love this game, by the way. Like, as an Alien vs. Predator fan, this game is a unique treat, especially the alien gameplay. I love the alien gameplay, so this should be pretty fun. Next, our third pilot, Fallout 4, The Crawling Chaos. So this is a Fallout 4 mod pack I've thrown together. The big theme here is chaos. So, this is actually a mod pack and a separate rule set we're applying to the game as well. It's a challenge mode and a mod pack. Regarding the mod pack, the center point of the mod pack is randomization. So we've got a variety of mods that change the way items spawn in the world, including mods that move all sorts of your normal collectibles and upgrades that you find in fixed places in the world into random locations. Meaning that we can't just pull up a fucking walkthrough and figure out where we're going next. We have to just explore and find things more organically. I have tested this mod pack for about 10 hours, and it's really, really cool. Another really interesting aspect to it is our weapons are randomized, and I don't just mean like, oh, this handgun is now a rifle. I mean like the weapons themselves, their components are randomized. So you find these incredible mismatched pieces of different equipment all stapled together. Like you find a handgun with a rifle barrel and then a radar dish and a fucking bayonet, and it'll have a gap in the middle where there's nothing, and the pieces will be floated next to each other, and it'll look stupid as fuck. But it's so fun because you never know what any given weapon's gonna do. Every weapon you find, you're like, what is this? Is this any good? I can't tell. You have to test fire them because they're just too hard to tell if they're gonna fucking work properly or not. I found some incredibly busted weapons in my first 10 hours or so. So there should be a lot of fun in terms of what weapons we end up using. Like it completely turns a lot of what you do in normal Fallout 4 on its head. In terms of the challenge mode for this run, it'll be a randomizer challenge. So I built a Python tool which randomly selects my character attributes and my character perks at level up. So we don't customize our character. Our character is randomly generated every time we level up. We get a new random ability. So we don't have any idea what kind of character build we'll be playing. So we'll have to adapt as we get more randomized perks. We'll have to change up what we're doing to match kind of our randomized build. Should be pretty cool. Another aspect, which is evident here in the thumbnail, is I've put some different, a bunch of different cosmetic mods as well. And the big one is changing the ugly, tired, grayed, brown Fallout world into a verdant, overgrown wasteland instead of the ashy, dead wasteland. In terms of apocalyptic settings, I generally prefer the buildings overgrown by trees and grass aesthetic over the everything is dead, boohoo aesthetic. So the environmental mods are also really fun. They don't have anything to do with the actual theme beyond, you know, there's a little bit of a connection between, you know, overgrowth and chaos spreading and crawling chaos and such and so forth. That the connection's very tenuous, but it works with the theme. Next, pilot number, what is this, 4? Yeah, 4, FTL. This is one of our 2 main roguelikes in the pilot series here. So for the roguelikes, what I'm thinking we'll do, and this applies to FTL, of course, is we'll do these live on Twitch, and then I'll upload the videos to the YouTube channel like the next day or something like that. So if you guys want some content to interact on Twitch, this is what we'll do, FTL or the upcoming Slay the Spire pilot. You can pick between those two. The concept between these two in terms of longer running series is pretty similar. FTL specifically will basically be taking a look at every ship, beating the game with every ship. The pilot is on normal difficulty, and once I've warmed myself back up and gotten more familiar with FTL, you know, assuming this makes it to a full series, because it has been a year or two since I last played, we'll up the difficulty and we'll do some harder runs. We might look at adding some more challenge mode rule sets or something in the future if the series proves popular. I accidentally went back a slide. But yeah, this pilot's broken into 2 parts because of, you know, it's about 2 hours for an FTL clear. I didn't want a 2-hour pilot, and I didn't want to keep the second half of the run. First off, I want to finish the run, right? So then I'm stuck in an awkward position of like, if I only want to put up the 1 episode, then I just have this episode in the archives I don't put up. That makes no sense. So yeah, after all 7 pilots are up, we'll put up the second part of the two-parter pilots. So FTL and Slay the Spire. Next series is another tactics series. So we've got XCOM 2 and Final Fantasy Tactics as our 2 tactical games. You know, tile-based, controlling a party of characters, turn-based stuff, whatnot. So this will be a challenge mode run. And I have patched the game with a speed-up patch for a few slowdowns in the War of the Lions version. If you're not familiar with War of the Lions, it's the newer version of Final Fantasy Tactics that's on the PSP, where they redo the translation, because the original translation of Final Fantasy Tactics is pretty rough. But I do fucking love Final Fantasy Tactics. It was my first ever tactical game I ever played on PlayStation 1. I still have my copy on PS1. It's across the room over by my dusty PlayStation 2 that hasn't been turned on in 4 years or whatever. But I am very... This is one of my favorite games. It's probably my favorite in terms of gameplay Final Fantasy game. Odds are pretty high that I'll play this at some point anyway, because I've never played the War of the Lions specifically. So I really want to check out the new translation because I do love the game. So basically the only question here is, does it go on the channel or not? Because I will absolutely play through this at some point. What else? Anything else on this? Oh yes, so the challenge, I should explain the challenge mode. So what we're going to do is basically every time we unlock new jobs on a character, we will randomize their job to a previous job or to a new job. And that way our characters will kind of have their own feel to them, as opposed to us tunneling down the most broken jobs. It also means we'll have to adapt for a team build that might not be the best for a given scenario. Maybe we'll have no good healers. And we'll just have to deal with that. I think I'm going to allow the secondary ability they all get to be my own choice to kind of patch that up a little bit. But yeah, that's the idea there. And then, like I mentioned, our other roguelike pilot, Slay the Spire, pretty similar in terms of structure to FTL. Broken into 2 parts again because it's a longer run. This will also be something we broadcast on Twitch for audience interaction. You can influence the run. I can ask you questions. Should we put this card in or not? Etc. Etc. What we'll do with Slay the Spire, as opposed to FTL. FTL has a lot of different ships to try out, right? Slay the Spire only has 4 classes, as opposed to the 8, 10, 12 ships. I don't remember how many ships there are in FTL. It's like 10 or 12, I think. So what we'll do here for Slay is, instead of, if we checked out every class, it'd be done in 8 hours, right? What we'll do in Slay is we'll push up on some Ascension ranks as well to make this a longer running series than just 4 runs. And if you're not familiar with Slay the Spire, it is a roguelike deck builder. So you're collecting cards and upgrading your character by adding new cards to your deck, or upgrading the cards in your deck, or removing bad cards from your deck and improving the quality overall. And then it has a scaling difficulty in the form of Ascension levels. So every time you beat the game, you unlock a new Ascension level. And if you beat the game on an Ascension level, you unlock a higher Ascension level. So what we'll do for this series is we'll push Ascension levels as well as just playing through on the different characters. And I haven't played Slay the Spire in a little while. And since I last played it, they added a 4th class. So that'll be entirely new content, me looking at that 4th class. So there's a nice mix here of content I'm very familiar with, having like 150 hours and let's call it quote unquote classic Slay, versus part of the content being entirely new to me, the 4th class. So that'll be a fun dynamic as well. But then our last pilot is our second classic series. This thumbnail is god-awful. I really should have put more work into this particular thumbnail. It's really shit. There's also a graphical glitch right here in the middle. This is really bad. That's what happens when you make a thumbnail for a kind of really random retro SNES game. So this is our second retro game we're looking at. This is another one of my favorite games from my childhood with a absolutely stellar soundtrack. I suggest if you've never played this game, you at least do yourself the favor listening to that damn awesome SNES soundtrack. This game, I don't even know what genre you really describe this as. It's like a third-person top-down shooter with a lot of really cool... It's based around like a lot of horror tropes, which are really cool. It's got very much like a 90s tongue-in-cheek aesthetic to it, which is really fun. A lot of really cool, quirky weapon selections, and it's got some really novel and interesting mechanics. In particular, there's like a vaguely roguelike aspect to it in that every level you have to rescue a group of civilians, 10 people at the start. But every time you lose a civilian on a map, that carries through on the rest of the game. So this game has a permanent loss condition where your run fails, which for a Super Nintendo era game is pretty novel, I feel. So yeah, this will be, the goal here will be a full clear of the game and maybe a challenge mode after that. I'm not going to lie to you, right? This game is probably the low tier pilot. Like, I kind of just needed another game in there that I really liked, and so I picked this one. But like the first 6 pilots are the big 6, honestly. But if this is I don't expect this one to win. I don't. But if it does, I'll be happy, definitely happy to play this game. And this game is something I would like to have on the channel at some point. It's not that this is like me deliberately picking something that nobody's going to pick. That's low effort trash. It's just relatively low effort compared to challenge modes and mod packs and stuff. Still something I want to play. Still something I love to have on the channel at some point. And if this is somehow the thing that wins, I'll be perfectly fine with that. But I just, in the interest of full transparency, if any one of these is going to be a filler pilot in terms of the Sweeps Week season, it's Zombies Ate My Neighbors. But I fucking love this game. And also, it blows my goddamn mind that Zombies Ate My Neighbors hasn't been rebooted. I don't know how somebody hasn't made a modern version of this, because it's such a fun concept of like keep the 90s aesthetic too. It's fucking great. But just like the funny little weapons, like a squirt gun full of holy water or throwing tomatoes at aliens to kill them. That shit's great. It's funny. You got every fucking horror monster trope in here. Zombies, aliens, crazy maniacs with chainsaws, fucking giant mutant babies and killer dolls, and it's fucking great. I love this game. It's such a cool aesthetic. But yeah. So to sum up, we've got 7 series that we will throw into the ring with each other. And you guys can pick which one to pick, which one to make to a full series. To reiterate, likes on the first episode of each series, the pilot episode for each series, will determine which one makes it to the full run here. And yeah, you can find the schedule for when each of these go up in the comments. And I'll give you guys a little bit of time to vote, and then I'll make a full series out of whichever one gets the most likes. So it should be the first episode, XCOM 2, should go up tomorrow, and then they should just be one a day after that. I just don't know what day that is at the time of this recording, because I'm pre-recording this content for the 2 weeks where I'm gone. But yep, hopefully you guys like this idea. It'd be really, really fucking awkward if I come back and every video has no likes. That'd be a horrible disaster and an utter failure on my part, I suppose, of gauging interesting content. So let's hope that doesn't happen. Oh shit, now that's gonna happen.